Welcome back to the DeliveringMore platform, folks. I'm your host, Ben Alkire. Thank you for consuming the content morning, afternoon, and evening. We appreciate it, as always. If you could, hit that subscribe button down below. That's going to help us out more than you can ever know. We have another amazing video to bring to you folks today. This one is super special to deliver that in the community in Northeast Ohio. I am here joined by the foundation we will be donating to for the 5th annual Deliver That charity golf outing coming up here in a few months at the beginning of August during Hall of Fame week, August 2nd. It is a Friday, so if you haven't, please sign up, donate, sponsor, do whatever you can to help this foundation out. We are currently sitting down with the founder, Amanda from Compassion Delivered.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Thank you. I was one take, so we might redo that one, but it was all right.
It was good.
You like the intro?
However you need to do it. The only thing I would add to it would be I'm a co-founder.
Co-founder,
so
true.
It's okay. I definitely don't want to ever not give recognition to probably the person that's the most important to how this whole organization works, and that would be my husband and chef, Daniel Anschutz. So
yeah, and I spent some time with Daniel in the kitchen on Monday.
That's right.
It was crazy.
That's right.
It was great in there, though.
Did you learn a lot of different techniques and ways to maybe cut peppers and onions?
So I'm not gonna lie, I watched a couple of your guys' videos, and also I saw. So it's there's some older women like retirees in there doing a lot of the work. Some of them don't have a lot of knife skills. It seems they were. I know you usually like Daniel. You can correct me if I'm wrong here. It's like when you chop, you like roll the wrist. Maybe is that the technique?
Yes.
There wasn't a lot of rolling of the wrist in there. There was a lot of just hammering out.
A lot of chopping. Well, we always say when people come to volunteer with us, you don't have to have any skills, just a willingness to learn and help. And Daniel's a phenomenal teacher, has a ton of patience, but we also make sure that nobody cuts their fingers off. So that's the most important part of it. But they are all just incredible volunteers that help to make the meals each week. And then we have an incredible group of volunteers that deliver them on Friday. And so, we could not do what we do without the incredible volunteer base that we have, here in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, it was amazing to see because it was the collection of people that were in there. There were some who you could tell had been there and I think come reoccurringly, like every Monday when you guys cook everything. And then there were, I think, 2 women. It was their very first time in there. And it was just, it was crazy though, because everyone's doing the same task. You're all working together. Everyone's filling the bowls, filling the pans and everything like that. It's crazy to see all that in action.
I'm glad you share that with me because we've had a rule in our organization since we were founded in 2017 that I stay out of the kitchen and Daniel stays out of my office, and that's how we stay married. And it's worked really well. So I have never volunteered in the kitchen. Even when we first started, I didn't want to. He is a chef and he knows his area, and that is the best way to do it. So I love when people share with me about their experiences because I don't know. I've never been a part of it. I just kind of come in and say hello and then I leave.
The separation of church and state of things,
absolutely.
I think is usually how things operate best.
It is. It works well for us, and so we'll continue that method as long as we possibly can.
It's amazing. It's amazing to see what you guys have been able to build over the past couple of years. I want to ask some pretty pointed questions just to start out and get people to have an understanding of what you guys do behind the scenes and then the services actually provides on the end scheme of things. So in your terms, in your words, what is Compassion Delivered?
Compassion Delivered, though we provide meals, we believe walking alongside somebody who is dealing with some of the hardest moments of their life when it comes to the medical side. We believe that people shouldn't have to choose between the medical care that they need and the nutrition the malnutrition that they sometimes suffer based on the treatments or diagnosis that they have. And so they shouldn't have to choose, between which one do I need more. And so we come alongside and provide high quality meals for free to individuals that have been diagnosed with a life-threatening or terminal disease. And we start with the meal. We've always kind of had the tagline is the meal gets us in the door to have a seat at the table, because it's not just about delivering a meal. It's about meeting people where they are. And it's about making sure that they have not been forgotten, that they're not alone in this journey, because it is very scary. Unless you've been in it, it's really scary when you get a diagnosis and you hear those words that it could be life-threatening or it's terminal. And it seems at that moment for somebody that their entire world stops, but the world doesn't stop. For them in that moment, it feels like the bottom just fell out, but life goes on. And too many times individuals will feel like nobody really knows or understands. And I feel like we have been able to do that over the years, is to come alongside them and just say, listen, we have the meals handled. You just focus on taking care of yourself and spending that critical time with your friends and family to just make memories, to just, rest, whatever they need to do, and leave the cooking to us.
Yeah, I love that statement you made. A meal to get you in the door, to have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think, like you're saying, just having people to speak to and having conversations openly about what's going on. Sometimes it's super difficult to talk about those things, and some people shell up and want to keep it to themselves, and that maybe can like exacerbate the circumstances and make things worse when you kind of internalize everything. So having people there to, I'm sure the people who deliver your food, stay with the individuals for a little bit, sit down, maybe eat the meal with them or their own meal that they've brought, and have extensive conversations about what's really going on in their lives.
Our delivery team is incredible. So when Daniel and I started Compassion Delivered, it was just the two of us. He would make the meals and I would deliver them. And so I, first one on the line, to go and sit with people. And I remember how hard that really was in the beginning, because I didn't know these people. These were strangers to us who just happened to trust two strangers to bring them food. And we, I thought this could either work or it's not going to work. We're going to find out. And I'll never forget the very first delivery we had was to an incredible couple. And I pulled in their driveway and I just remember thinking, like, I just hope that there's a connection. And I walked up to the door, opened the door, and they welcomed me in. And they were more about me than they were about what was going on. And it was really strange because we just started having conversations about life, about their family, about what our likes were, dislikes were. And we just started, kind of building a bond, and they became family to us. And I will tell you that the majority of our deliver volunteers, or the majority of our individuals in the kitchen, are former meal recipients' families that have come back to pay it forward, to give back to what was done for them. It's not required in our organization. We don't expect that. But it's incredible to see those people, kind of go through what they're going through, but then want to turn around and do the same for somebody else. And so our longest delivery driver is the husband of our very first meal recipient.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
he's
amazing.
incredible.
And the conversation kind of being like a reprieve from them, from what's going on, kind of just take your mind off things, is a super intriguing thing to bring up. You mentioned doing the first delivery and who it went to. I don't want to ask pry too much here, but if you would be able to share, if you don't feel comfortable, it's not a big deal. But was there a personal experience that led you to starting Compassion Delivered?
There is a personal experience. It's actually kind of a funny story. So Daniel and I were married in 2015. And prior to that, I have a cousin that lives and works in Denver, Colorado. And for a few years prior to it, I would donate to a nonprofit that he worked for. And I would just do that, kind of like Sport Family, whatever it might be. He'd reach out, send the check, send the donation, whatever. So Daniel and I married in 2015. And that fall, I sent a donation to the nonprofit. And Daniel's like, hey, what's this money that's going out of our account for? And I was like, oh, it's a nonprofit that Justin works for. And he's like, okay, what do they do? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, seriously? And I was like, yeah, I guess I'll just give you my money for free. I mean, no questions asked or whatever. And so he's like, well, could you find out, where our money is going to? And so I made this really awkward phone call because my cousin and I are super close. And I was like, hey, cuz, funny story. What do you guys do? And he's like, seriously? So it was a whole thing. Even to this day, he still gives me, he makes fun of me. But anyways, he tells me that the nonprofit he worked for was a little over 25 years old, and they provided healthy meals for free to people that have been diagnosed with a life-threatening or terminal disease. And I just remember being like, whoa, I'm so proud of you. Like, that's incredible. So then I tell my chef husband, this is what's going on. And he's like, hey, let's use our network and find a nonprofit in Northeast Ohio that we can volunteer, donate, get behind, support. And so I was in the corporate America side. Daniel was in the country club, lifestyle as a corporate chef. And so we just started asking questions. And what we found is there's a lot of incredible nonprofits and organizations in our county, in our state, local, whatever it might be. But there might be that they can only help certain individuals, or it's a certain age or certain income or whatever it might be. And so when we started asking questions, we found that, okay, it helps a little bit of these individuals, but not these. And so we really wanted to take the burden off of people's plates, literally, that they didn't have to worry. They didn't have to justify their worth to just have a basic meal. And so that's really what happened. And so we started asking a lot of questions, and then we met with the both hospitals here in Northeast, or in Stark County, I should say. And at the time in 2016, we were told that 2,200 people could benefit from this program. And we both kind of were raised that when you find out that there's a problem, you don't pass it on to somebody else. You need to handle it yourself. And so with a lot of prayer and a lot of conversation, we started to realize that between the two of us, we have what it takes to do something like this. And it really is like the secret formula, because if it wasn't for him being a chef and without my business background, I'm not really sure it would have really taken off to what it needed to be. And so we officially formed Compassion Delivered in January of 2017. We started in our house. Our kitchen is like smaller than this table. And so, on Daniel's one day off, he would make the meals and we would freeze them, because the individuals we serve are not eating meals like we normally are eating. They're eating smaller portions, or, maybe a protein and not the vegetables and starches, or whatever it might be. And so we didn't want to waste the food. And so we froze it for them. And then on Fridays I would deliver it. And so we did that for the first year. And then those individuals that we started with became our eyes, ears, and taste buds. They told us what didn't work, what they liked, how they felt when they were doing treatments. We found out during that time that nobody liked peas, no matter how Daniel made them. Every time we got a card back, it was like, I don't like peas. And you're like, oh my goodness. So, trial and error during that time. But then we realized that we had a program. And so in 2018, we moved to another church to make our meals out of, and started just slowly building upon the amount of people that we were able to serve each week. And then we had kind of a crazy switch in 2020. Actually, during COVID, the church that we were at had a pretty significant gas leak that could have been pretty catastrophic to us personally and professionally. And thankfully we were not in it, and we were out of town that time that happened. But we needed to move out of that space because they weren't going to be able to repair it and kind of move on. And so we were able to connect with a church in Hartville, which is Evermore Community Church. And they said, hey, like, come on in. Nobody's using our kitchen right now because of COVID. And so we, moved in about 2 or 3 weeks later, and we're like, hey, we'll be here like, 3 to 6 months, nothing too long. Well, we're still there. And it's been incredible. Because of that move, we've been able to quadruple, the amount of people we've helped over the years. And so to date, we've helped over 500 families and individuals. We currently serve close to 80 spots per week. And I say spots because it may not be the same person every week. Some people can be with us for a few months, a few years, or just a few weeks, sometimes even just a week. So during that spot, we could have anywhere between 6 to 8 people through that over the year. And then we just celebrated back in February 50,000 meals made, within the organization over the last 8 years. And so, we found out last year that the new statistic of the people in just Stark County alone that could use this program is 16,000.
That's crazy. From 2,200 to 16,000.
Yeah. It just shows you what has happened in the last 8 years regarding health and, just where people are at in that process. And so, we help as young as 3 years old all the way till 99, even 100. It does not matter what the age. It does not matter the income. It solely is the diagnosis. And they do need to live in Stark County. We're not big enough to take on other counties yet, but, Lord willing, that will happen in years to come.
Yeah, I believe you guys could get to that expansive of of a location
Yeah.
and amount of coverage that you guys have moving forward. I'm glad you brought up the milestone because I wanted to talk
Yeah.
about that specifically. It's listed on your website. You got the pictures. I think was it the children? Did they make the bags for that specifically, or
Oh,
was it for something else?
so the bags actually started when we first started. We just bought regular brown paper bags, nothing exciting. And we have 2 daughters. And at the time, one of our daughters was like, "Hey, can I decorate this bag?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure, go right ahead." And so they did. And we delivered it that Friday. And the woman that I delivered it to, I'll never forget. She was like, "Oh, this is the most beautiful bag I've ever seen." And I was like, "It's a brown paper bag. What are you talking about?" But what I realized is that it gave them something to look forward to. And so we very quickly started reaching out to schools and youth groups and companies and anybody that would be willing to just take some time and decorate a bag. And we have had thousands and thousands of bags decorated over the last 8 years. And we have some great connections with local schools and companies. And so out of that also then became our encouragement card. And so every week when we deliver, they get a decorated bag and an encouragement card that's written by somebody that is never going to know them, but just give them those words of encouragement. And those have become something pretty special because our meal recipients can hold on to those and read them over and over again, or take them with them when they go to treatment, or, have something that's really special, that just reminds them that people do still care about what's going on with them, even though they might not see them physically, that they know somebody out there took the time to write them a note and just tell them, that they were thinking of them. So
yeah, it's a very impressive initiative. I love that idea, and involving the schools and the children, everything's a great thing to do in anything we're doing. I think something I did want to talk about. Obviously, we mentioned in the intro, you guys are the charity we're donating to for our golf outing coming up. I don't believe this will release in time, but your golf outing is on Monday
is
this
literally
coming week.
like 3 days from now.
Right. So I'm sure you're a little stressed out in regards to
No, it's all
that.
good.
I'll be on site.
Yeah.
I'll be playing in the event. So I'm super
Awesome.
excited to see you guys there and talk to Brett and everyone and everything on site. But I wanted to ask a little candidly in regard to why hosting events like these and participating in events like these are so important to the foundation. What do golf events and foundations and what is
we have a gala.
the
in
gala, right?
October.
That's what I was trying to think of. So
Yeah.
what are events like the golf outings and the gala you guys do every year? How important are those to making sure the foundation is able to move forward?
It's the if we didn't have them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do, because we don't take any insurance money, government dollars. We are solely relying on single donations. We do write grants, but we also rely heavily on our fundraising efforts, because the fundraising efforts is what helps us to be able to continue on. And if we have goals, we know how much it costs to run the program. We know how much it costs to, make sure that we have our staff covered. And so every year it's like we have to meet those goals. They're so critical, but they're also a lot of fun. That's the one thing when we first started. I knew that we were going to have to do something, to like bring awareness to the organization and what we're doing and give people an opportunity to get behind us. And I think we had planned we planned to have the gala in October, but we didn't start planning it till May. And I remember just being super naive of what it would take to do any kind of event, even though I had done them in other aspects of my life prior. But when it's your own and you're trying to, share your message, it's a little different. And we pulled it off. It was insane. But our gala has become like the biggest, fundraising initiative for us. And that's in October. This year will be at Brookside. But our golf outing has been such a fun opportunity to kind of see it grow. We actually, it's a story where we had a volunteer that he and his wife were our very first kitchen volunteers back in 2018 with us. And right after COVID, or during COVID, I should say 2020, he approached Daniel and said, "Hey, have you guys ever thought about doing a golf outing?" And Daniel's like, "We don't have the bandwidth right now to do one more thing." He goes, "Hey, I'll lead it. If you just, if you'll support us, I'll lead it." And we're like, "Okay." And so we held our first golf outing and it was a blast. And I remember just being like, this was really fun. Like, we should do that again. And so we are having our 4th annual golf outing on Monday, and it's at the Quarry. And it's just a great opportunity for our donors, our supporters, or people that have never heard about us to just have a fun day, but also help us raise money, because all those dollars go back to ensuring that the meals we provide are free. And that really comes down to the most important piece of what we do in fundraising, is that we want our meals to remain free as long as we possibly can. We don't want to put that burden on somebody's, shoulders while they're already dealing with so much. And so that's really why it's so critical that we host these events, and for you guys to recognize what we're doing and then to turn around and support us from your own golf outing is extremely humbling. And, when Brett called to tell me this, I'm pretty sure he's told you that I'm extremely emotional, and because I love doing for other people. And then when somebody turns around and does it for you, and knowing what that impact is going to be like for the people that you're serving, there's really no words to that, and so we're just grateful that, number one, you share what we're doing and, let people know, but also that we can, kind of just have you guys run the event, and so, and we don't have to, kind of be the ones behind the scene. And so, but it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be exciting to meet the people that come to your outing and support what you guys are doing. And so we just really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, we appreciate you. I think it was such an easy decision too, because there's so many like intersecting lines between the businesses, right? Obviously, the delivery portion right here in Stark County. I mean, really like Jackson Township,
Right.
Canton. You guys are out kind of in Hartville where the church is, so very all close to home. And then obviously the causes goes without saying how important doing something like that is for people you may not know, or you have a loved one going through that similar scenario. So doing things like that when you can is always super, super important.
Right.
I appreciate your time.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
thank you guys so much for coming in the office and taking some time to talk about the business, talk about the initiatives and why you actually started everything. And I wanted to close out with one last question. It doesn't have to be an extensive response. It can be short, quick, to the point, or you can elaborate. I just wanted to ask if there was, you mentioned the first customer already and how they helped you guys out down the line. Have there been any, I don't want to say crazy or wild, but have there been any specific stories that you feel like you'll always remember throughout this journey? I know there's probably every single customer you deliver to, it seems like you connect with them and you bond like them, you mentioned, but have there been any moments where you felt like you're really making a difference for this individual, or has there been a story where you felt like this is really going to change how we do things moving forward?
I wish the one thing that I would have done in the beginning is started to write all of them down. I really wish I could have put all those experiences and opportunities down on a piece of paper to be able to remember them for years to come. And yes, there are, over the 500 families and individuals we've helped, every single one has a story or has something to be remembered by, but I will tell you this, you'll never forget the people that originally started with you. Those people will always live in the heart of what we do with Compassion Delivered. There were 6 individuals that first year that we had the opportunity to walk beside. And there is not a day that goes by that I don't see them in what we do and in the decisions that we make and in the conversations that we have with somebody that's brand new. I am grateful because every single person in our organization that comes to the program starts as a stranger, but they end as family. And our lives, Daniel and I, our lives are more blessed than we could ever imagine because of the opportunity to get to know them, to just for a brief moment in time, be in their lives. And I think that's the part that I cherish the most. But there is one individual who will always, like when I think of things, and her name was Brenda. And Brenda was a part of the program in the very beginning with us. The connection there was her son not only was a personal friend of Daniel and I, but he was on our very first board of directors. And when we were looking for people to, kind of pilot with, he approached me and he said, my mom is really sick. And I was like, you don't have to go any further. We will start delivering to her, and we did. But I cherished those deliveries. Like, I loved all of them. Don't get me wrong. I loved every single person I had the opportunity to deliver to. But when it came to delivering to Brenda, I couldn't wait to get to her house. I couldn't wait to sit on her couch and, talk about all sorts of things. Like we talked about everything, and she loved like soap opera soap opera. It was like Hollywood magazines or whatever, like People or whatever. And I would just be like, we would just talk about the most random things. And for just a brief moment in that day, I knew that not only was she pouring into my life and letting me forget like the crazy things I had going on, but I knew that in that moment, I was able to get her to forget what was going on in her life. And man, I think like now I'm just thinking of like conversations and things that we had, but it was super special. And that's really how it has been, not only for me, but all the deliverers that we've had in our program who have had opportunities like that over the years. And I know if you were to ask every single one of them, they would have their own story. But we feel like it is such an honor and a privilege to be welcomed into somebody's environment when they're dealing with something that's pretty horrific.
Yeah, and I can't imagine all the volunteers you guys have helping you guys out. There's probably so many stories across so many timelines and so many individuals. It's probably anyone watching out there probably has some involvement. Like there's like a 3 degrees of separation kind of thing where you probably end up knowing someone that was involved in the organization at some point in time. So all those things are unbelievable to hear. I do greatly appreciate your time today, Amanda. Thank you so much. I'm excited for your guys' golf outing on Monday. I'm super excited for our event at the beginning of August here, August 2nd. Friday during Hall of Fame week. So if you haven't, please sign up, donate, sponsorship, whatever you guys can do to help out this great compassion delivered organization. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.